Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Uh, Gentlemen, first of all, thanks, and I appreciate the hard work that you have done and your organizations have done in making this whole thing work as well as it has in a very short period of time. Uh, I I would ask, first of all, to Secretary Mnuchin, in discussing with our local lenders, they've got a number of questions coming in with regard to PPP, and specifically two different sections. The portion of it, number one, was the rule in which we asked that these loans be literally divvied out and accepted within 10 days of the time of approval. And second of all, how that relates to a June 30th date for the execution or completion of the use of those loans. And Mr. Secretary, I don't find where there's actually a June 30th end date where that has to happen in order to facilitate forgiveness of that loan. Can you talk a little bit about your options or the flexibility you have with regard to the PPP and the forgiveness of loans and that June 30th date that so many people have concerns about?
Well, let me just comment. I think the concern that people have that's even bigger, that we'd like to get a bipartisan technical fix, is you said there's the 10 days to disperse it. We've then given banks another 10 days if people haven't sent back the documents. And then there's the 8-week period. So companies are really having issues with not necessarily being able to use it during that 8 weeks. They don't want more money, but want flexibility that they can use it in longer than an 8-week period. And as it relates to the June 30th issue, we're happy to follow up with your staff and talk about where that fits into the bill.
Thank you. Chairman Powell, I noted with interest a letter from Vice Chair Quarles recommending that Congress give regulators discretion to loosen certain capital requirements prescribed by Section 171 of Dodd-Frank. Do you share Vice Chair's thinking, and what additional measures do you think Congress and the Federal Reserve should consider?
I do share that. So the idea is temporarily during this period, unusual, unique period in our history, the banks have been strong. They've been making loans. They've been taking in deposits. And because of the growth in their balance sheet, they're constrained by some of these regulations because they're taking on board very low risk assets. So we've tried to provide relief so they can continue to do what they're doing. So I do support that, and we've done a number of things, and you know we'll let you know as we see the need for other adjustments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Mnuchin, one thought with regard to, in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, we still have a discussion about, and on a regular basis get questions from taxpayers here about the amount of money that we borrowed and what we're going to do about it. You're going to play a key role in how we lay out that repayment plan. Can you talk a little bit about the tools available to you, specifically with regard to long or ultra long Treasury bonds? I know it's been a hot topic, and I know that most recently you launched a 20-year bond. Can you talk about the maturities, how you plan on laying that out, the strategy that you're using to best accommodate our needs for the immediate liquidity, but also recognizing that you've got some tools available, and with these ultra low interest rates that we're at right now, it may very well work to our benefit to feather this out over an extended period of time.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you asked that question because I think it's very important. So the first, I would just answer, prior to this, we spent a lot of time looking at 50 and 100-year bonds and determined that there just wasn't enough demand to make it worth it, given our borrowing sizes. We did get advice on a 20-year, so we've added the 20-year. That gives us the ability to both extend the duration as well as to raise significant amount of funds. So it is my intention, as you've described, to borrow a lot of money in the short term to have the funding, but then to expand our financing in 10, 20, and 30-year bonds. What I'd like to do is lock in a significant amount at very low interest rates so that the money we're borrowing can be paid back and dealt with over a long period of time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Senator Warren.